That's what the spirit of awakening is referring to. Now, if we have this spirit of awakening, this is what is being spoken about in verse number 10, it is like the supreme gold-making elixir, for it transforms the unclean body we've taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha form. Therefore, firmly seize this awakening mind. Okay, so right now we have a body which, we might be very proud of for various reasons, but we know it gets sick, it gets very sick, it misbehaves, it is going to get old and die if we live long enough. And if we've been with old people, we know what a hassle it is. And then the body dies. Don't have to be old, of course, to die. You can die in the womb, you can die at birth, you can die any time. We have a body which is like that. And of course, a lot of the modern world and money is made in trying to make the outside, 1 or 2 millimeters of body skin look very nice and appealing. But underneath is a lot of stuff that only surgeons enjoy working with, or cannibals, or wild animals enjoy cutting open flesh and taking out tumors or eating it or whatever your style is. But so this unclean body, we have to accept it's kind of unclean body, right? Doesn't mean we go around just saying to people, you have an unclean body, you have a nice perfume, but you have an unclean body. We don't have to say that. We have to be friendly with people. But in our mind, we know what is my body, what are other people's bodies, Meaning that like animals, most people only use their life to feed the body and give it some pleasurable sensations. What else are we doing? If you think about it honestly, we're not doing much else. We're feeding it, giving it some pleasant sensations. Of course, we have some mental pleasure as well. We may be very intelligent people who have a lot of mental pleasure through our study and through work or art and music, and etc. That's true, of course. But basically what we're doing, we are not able to do anything to transform the fact that this body is going to get old and die, and then if we haven't done enough spiritual practice, we will have an uncontrolled death, and therefore our rebirth will not be under our control. It will be totally under the control of the wind, if you like, or the forces of karma, of cause and effect. So we have this situation where every day we have problems, mental and physical problems, due to the delusions in the mind and the uncontrolled mental factors, powerful sources of aggression and attraction, attachment, jealousy, pride, competitiveness, anxiety, fear, all the rest of it. That is torturing us all the time. And it has a deep effect on our body. Deep effect on our body, this unclean body. I was quite proud of the fact, I thought I was quite a cool and calm person and, humorous. But when I went to a very good Ayurvedic doctor about 2 weeks ago, she pronounced that on a scale of 1 to 10, the highest being, of course, the worst, I had 8 out of 10 stress level, according to my pulse, not according to looking at me. Good, bad, they check very carefully. 8 out of 10. Not good. 8 out of 10 is not good. She said, my task is to bring it down to 3. Of course, you might say, you're a Buddhist monk, you should have a 0 or 1 or 2 stress level out of 10. What are you doing with 8? So the point is, our life, our mind, stress us out, stress our body out. How would we have a stressed out body if it were a pure body of light or a pure body of whatever? But no, we have a body full of organs, right? As we know from Chinese, Tibetan and ancient Indian medical systems, the emotions affect the elements. The elements become unbalanced and they affect the organs of the body. Once the organs are affected and so forth, it affects the whole body and mind. Of course, then there's a feedback mechanism, affects the mind, and then you die. So either quickly or not so quickly you die. So it's like that, we have an unclean body. And of course in the Theravada and the basic teachings of Lord Buddha, a tremendous amount of emphasis is put on analyzing the uncleanliness of this body. So much so that in that tradition, which I don't necessarily agree with, I mean, I don't do this, but some of the monks in that tradition, I don't know about the nuns, they put up pictures of deteriorating bodies, meaning dead bodies. So, and this is in the text, this is Lord Buddha taught this, it's not something they made up, but of course Buddha didn't have technology to make posters and put it on their walls, but he taught how to meditate and to go to a Shamshan Ghat, go to a cemetery and a place where they burn bodies. Look at the body after it's just dead, after a day, after 2 days, after 3 days. There's obviously the body of someone whose family doesn't have enough money to burn them. So then you look at the body. What is the nature of this body, which we are so attached to right now? Yeah. So this can be done. I'm not saying it's everybody's cup of tea, but this is what is done to restrain lust and attachment towards one's own and others' bodies. And to just be realistic about what life is. You know, I have a body which is going to get old and disgusting and die. So what am I doing with my life? That kind of question may come up. So he's saying here that this spirit of awakening, which I defined earlier, gave you 2 definitions, very close together, is the supreme gold-making elixir. It's like in ancient alchemy, right? There was this search for something that can transform lead into gold, right? That's one of the main agendas of Eastern and Western alchemy, to change something which is not so precious into something that is the most precious. So in this world, gold for us is very precious. So that example is given. Of course, there's great stories of the Mahasiddhas where they're offered lots of gold and they just throw it in the air and say, I don't need this, you know. For me, everything is gold. I think Naropa or Tilopa did that, maybe, you know. Someone offered him a lot of gold, which is traditional. You offer gold, you know, to receive teachings. Nobody offers me gold, by the way. They offer me a cup of tea and I didn't even get offered a taxi to come here because I live close by. Anyway, I don't mind. But Naropa was offered gold, or he threw it in the air, you know. Hame kya chahiye? Sona kya chahiye? Mere liye pura duniya sona hai. Why do I need gold, you know? The whole world is gold for me. Which it was in a sense, because his perception was so pure. Everything for him is delightful, is pure, is in one sense, it's wonderful. He doesn't need gold. Of course. Anyway, I won't go into other cultures' definitions. And I was thinking about how, you know, was it the Midas? Everything he touches turns to gold. That also has its disadvantages, you know. Your best friend just turns into gold, so then you can't talk to your best friend because they turned into gold. So there's also downside. Anyway, here it's saying that this potentially devastatingly crippling body and mind are transformed by having this kind of attitude of the spirit of awakening, which is called Bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition, in the Mahayana tradition. Mahayana Buddhism aims at enlightenment and not just personal nirvana. Enlightenment meaning becoming a Buddha in order to lead all other beings to Buddhahood, or at least to greater happiness and so forth, benefiting them as much as possible. So that attitude, bodhicitta, bodhi translates as enlightenment, chitta, thought or mind. So the enlightenment mind. So the mind which is aspiring towards enlightenment. Spirit of awakening is a nice way of also putting it in more westernized language, but nice. I quite like spirit of awakening. There are other ways of also talking about it or translating it. The awakening attitude, the awakening mind, yeah. But literally it would be translated awakened mind, yeah, or bodhi mind, bodhi thought of awakening, the thought of awakening, the thought that I must wake up completely if I'm to benefit others and benefit myself. If I don't wake up out of my ignorance and my stupidity, I can't even benefit myself, let alone others. Okay, so transforms the unclean body we have taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha form. Therefore, firmly seize this awakening mind. So, if we practice the stages of the path that lead to generating the spirit of awakening, bodhicitta, through developing love and compassion, through basically remembering the kindness of others and wishing to repay the kindness of others. And here one would give a long teaching on the kindness of others, because that's one of the main ways to begin to generate this great compassion which leads to the spirit of awakening. Because the spirit of awakening isn't just something you feel in the morning and it's gone in the evening. What they're speaking out here is an authentic spirit of awakening, which is totally guides our whole life. It's it's our rudder. It's whatever. It's what illuminates our whole life. It's what drives us in our life. Just like money or self-concern and selfishness drives a lot of our behavior now. For the person who has this bodhicitta, who are called bodhisattvas, by the way, someone who has the bodhicitta in their mind is called a bodhisattva. That's why the text is called the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, or entering into the Bodhisattva's activities or deeds. There are various means of ways of translating the title. Bodhisattva Charya Avatar, entering into the deeds of a bodhisattva, might be the most correct translation, but it's also called Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. It's a very workable sort of translation. So, we need to have that kind of mind. The main way is to meditate on the kindness of others, which is a wonderful meditation, actually, because often in our daily life, we are brought face to face with the ugly side of others, or the aggressive, stressed out side of others, So then we forget that others are very kind. How are others kind? Well, we begin by reflecting on how we got here in this life, which is due to the kindness of Mother, Father, who then looked after us. They didn't just provide the sperm and the egg, but then they looked after us when we were born. Because at birth we are like, what are we like? I haven't been a mother in this life, so I have to ask a mother what the baby is like. Obviously the mother may be, depending on the birth circumstances, happy, sad, upset, pain, whatever, but there's this kind of slippery, not eel I would say, that would be unkind. I guess the hospital staff wash the baby. Can you remember when you first held your baby?
Yeah.
What was it like? What did they feel like?
Slimy thing.
Tiny thing, no?
Slimy.
Huh?
Slimy.
We wouldn't want to touch such
Slimy
a big
creature.
slimy creature.
Yeah.
But the mother looks after the slimy creature, which is only eating, drinking and shitting, like Shantideva, except day and night. So, wow. And then we got to this stage at 20, 30, 40, 50. I won't go above 50. We're still alive. That means mummy, daddy, especially mummy, probably looked after us. And we were tiny and helpless. And just a kaka pee-pee machine. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Who would do that? We help someone for 10 minutes, we want them to thank us. 10 minutes you help someone, you think it's a big deal. Especially if you're in a hurry, then 10 minutes seems like an eternity, right? So you help somebody or watch their luggage for 10 minutes and they don't say thank you to you, you would be deeply upset. You would give a whole story to your friends about how terrible people are nowadays. They don't thank you for helping them for 10 minutes. The mother, it helps you for 10, 20 years. Isn't it? I'll give this story, so again and again, sorry to people who've heard it before, but when I was returning once from India to England, from England to back to Bharat Mata, through Israel, where my brother lived, still lives. His son had just been born, was 8 days old. So I stopped with them. I was sleeping in the hall on the sofa, in the living room on the sofa, and the baby would get up twice or thrice a night, to do what a baby does, eat and make caca. So the parents would get up and they seemed to be doing this, and they never complained about it. I was there 3 or 4 nights, they never complained. So I thought to myself, I don't think I could do this. So, but my brother and my sister-in-law are doing this, how amazing. Of course, it wasn't my child, they're looking after their child, but still, And my brother, had then work to do during the day, and it's not as though my sister-in-law could just go to sleep during the day. You have to keep on looking after the baby, day and night. So this is what parents do. It's extraordinary. So we should begin to think of the kindness of the parents at that time. And then moving on to university, when I was at university, this northerner from the north of England, he proudly opened his suitcase. He was studying chemistry. Proudly opened his suitcase the first week or so into term, the first term. We were just getting to know each other. He opened his suitcase, showed a vast array of shirts, underwear. He said, during the next 10, 12 weeks, we had very short terms at the university. In these 10 weeks, my mother's given me so many clothes, I will not need to wash anything myself. I have enough pairs to last me to the end of term. I guess he would take it all back for mother to wash. I don't think we had any washing machines in the college at that time. I'm not sure. But he didn't intend to wash it himself. Mummy had given him enough underwear, shirts, whatever, to last the term. And we're talking of an 18-year-old, 17 or 18-year-old young man. So you could say the mother's spoiling it. Of course you could. But the point here is to remember how much the parents care for us. Amazing. Crazy, really. Who would do that much? But parents do it. And then after parents, of course, we have people who help us. Maybe our parents didn't help us so much for some reason or another because of their problems or whatever. Someone did, though. Someone did. And then right up to today, at this moment, someone is helping us by providing the room, building it, having the lights, having the tankas, getting people like me to sit here and talk to you. There's so many kind people. You might think they're unkind now after, hearing me for an hour. But anyway, even those unkind people are good because they help teach us patience. You can't learn patience from kind people. You learn it from unkind people because then you have to practice patience. That's the logic. So anyway, everyone is kind. The person who made the carpet, the person who laid the carpet, the person who cleans the carpet, the person who made the roads, even if with holes in them, the person who is bringing your newspaper in the morning, the person who is delivering your milk to the shop where you buy it and the guy actually sells it to you. You have to give him money. Your money comes from somebody. Your boss, or if you're self-employed, you make this money from people who buy your goods or your services. Either way, everything we do depends on other people. In that sense, they are kind. It's not referring to the fact that they mean to be kind. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some are just doing their job. But the net effect is we are benefiting, right? So who cares whether the guy made the carpet with the, compassionate attitude, wanting us to get enlightened? He probably didn't. But the fact is, the person made the carpet, laid the carpet, and we're benefiting, right? Well, I think we are. I like this carpet. It's a bright color, keeps me awake. And then someone made the cushions. We thought he overcharged us, but still, he did a good job. And without them, we'd be in trouble. So that person is also kind, the person who overcharges us. The scooterwala who brings us here and overcharges us, or just charges correctly, they're both kind. Both bring us here. One is kind because they charge us the right amount. The other is kind because though they overcharge us, we learn that samsara is suffering, that samsara has problems, that people have greed in their minds, that I have it too. So we're reminded of the state we're in. And we're reminded that also this person may be overcharging us because they have more children than we have. And they have to feed, clothe, and educate them. So they try and get more money wherever they can. They're not driving scooters because they're millionaires, bored at home and just having a job on the side. These people need money, so they overcharge. Of course, sometimes the way they do it is not very nice. They don't explain at the beginning of the journey, I have a wife and 3 children and 2 daughters, and I need to marry one of them, and I need 5 lakhs, which I don't have. So that's why I'm going to overcharge you a bit. Then you'd understand. But they don't do that. They just immediately tell you some price you don't want to hear, or whatever. So they're not very skillful. But many times they do need extra money. Anyway, people are kind. Everything we have depends on other people. Everything. You might say, well, Buddhism says my mind doesn't come from others. That's true. Your mind is something beginningless, which is not manufactured by any humans. But who affects your mind? Who brings good ideas into your mind? Who helps your mind? Who helps you when your mind is sad, upset? When you were crying also as a baby and very upset and afraid, who helped your mind at that time? Somebody did. So even our mind depends on others, kindness, to be where we are. Of course, some people have very unhappy, traumatic time or childhood, sure. But the point is, then we do have a chance later in life to heal ourselves through the kindness of others. Does that make sense? Sorry, am I communicating?
Yeah.
I've been speaking non-stop and not getting any feedback due to my own non-stop quality. It's like the Rajdhani, which just doesn't stop at a station. This is a passenger train that takes the trouble to stop and let people on board. Any questions so far? Or anything you want to say? Yes.
If some, I've been trying to get the concept of kindness, but if someone directly tortures a person, how come that victim?
Yeah, very difficult, very difficult. They can't, you wouldn't be doing that practice unless you're already a very highly realized person. Like some Tibetans who were tortured by the Chinese, they felt sorry for the Chinese. And one of them later told the Dalai Lama, I was in danger. And the Dalai Lama says, what danger? The person says, I was in danger of losing my compassion for my torturer. So some people have that quality of mind, but that's very rare, I agree. So we have to just not look at the extreme situations, but as an outsider looking at somebody torturing someone else, we can feel compassion for both. Because the guy torturing the other person is creating such dreadful karma, and obviously has such an unhappy, negative mind, that you feel sorry for someone having such, just as you'd feel sorry for someone having a terrible body, say, ugly and miserable body with pus coming out of everywhere, you'd feel sorry for such a person. So that person behaving like that is like their mind is like that. It's like their mind is, of course, much worse than having a pus-ridden body, because the mind has so much ability to create more and more harm, karmically speaking, for now and in the future, We all have pus if we have a problem or some disease, but it can go away. But if you have that kind of mind, you're creating long-term suffering for yourself and short-term suffering for others and oneself. So one can see that torturer as someone kind because they are showing us the nature of samsara, which is suffering. They are like a treasure hard to find, according to the 8 verses on transforming the mind. When you see people who are totally driven by negativity and bad karma, one can train one's mind to feel sorry for them. Doesn't mean you forgive their action. Their action is abominable and one must try and stop them if one can, But the person, as a person, they are suffering. And so they show us the nature of suffering. And of course the person they're torturing is suffering. But usually we feel much, much, much more compassion for the person being tortured. And that's natural to feel that way. Especially if it's, say, a child being molested by a much older person, say, or being killed, we say, hang the person, That's immediate reaction. We don't see the suffering. We only see the child suffering, which is, of course, it's one of the hardest things to see a child in pain or being harmed by somebody. But what about the person harming? We have to look at that. Their mind. What kind of mind to want to do those things? So then we can feel compassion for the person who is behaving like worse than any animal could possibly behave, Because they're going to suffer so much in the future. And can't possibly be having a calm, happy mind if they're behaving like that. So there are ways to generate compassion and see the kindness of everybody. The other factor, as Rinpoche, our teacher, keeps on mentioning, is that if you want to become a bodhisattva, let alone a Buddha, just to become a bodhisattva with this spirit of awakening, you cannot leave out even one sentient being. from your calculation. You can't say, yeah, I'm going to generate the altruistic aspiration to enlightenment for everybody except that person who did that. You can't say that. How could you say that? You'll have so many exceptions. Not going to do it for Mao Zedong, or not going to feel that I'm going to help Hitler or Pol Pot or whoever is your pet hatred, or the serial killer, or the this, that, and the other. How can you say that? Because then you can easily just bring in the, all your unfavorite people, the politicians you hate. So that's not going to work. Or you might say, oh, well, I love all animals, but I hate scorpions and snakes. So I'm not going to work for their enlightenment. It's crazy. It doesn't work. So as a bodhisattva, we'll have to be having that attitude that I'm prepared to work for everybody's benefit. Doesn't mean you're going to invite scorpions and snakes to 4 o'clock tea, or, dictators and murderers. But in your mind, you're going to feel, they're suffering. They're worthy of my love and compassion. Although I never want to shake their hand or, offer them a finger or something. No way. Not yet anyway. But in my mind, I'm not going to hate them. I'm not going to automatically kill them when they come into, my sight. Like some people do. They see a snake, they'll kill it. Due to ignorance, they won't even know whether it's poisonous or just harmless snake. They'll just kill it. Like they will a mosquito or a cockroach or a rat or anything else. Killing instinct's very strong in many humans. Anyway, the unclean body and mind, he could have added, but anyway, he's here talking about how something is transformed. And a Buddha form, you see, this is one way of depicting a Buddha is to make a statue, but a Buddha has 3 bodies. Buddha has what's called Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. Nirmanakaya is the body of form that the Buddha came in this world, say. If we take Shakyamuni Buddha, he came into this world as a human being, as a man, born from a mother's womb. We don't have miraculous birth that much. Well, not in this Buddha story anyway. We do have some miraculous births, but let's not talk about that now. That's another aspect of Buddhism. But we do have the Nirmanakaya, which means body of form. So Shakyamuni was a human being. He lived about 80 years, then he died. That's one, Nirmanakaya. Sambhogakaya is a much purer, if you like, a body of light. The Buddha is able to manifest in a body of light called the enjoyment body, Sambhogakaya. But that body of light can only benefit beings who are already quite highly spiritually developed, because after all, we can't see that body of light. When we go around in our lives, we don't see Buddhas in the sky teaching us. But high bodhisattvas can, because they have access to the body of light of the Buddha, the Sambhogakaya aspect of the Buddha, which is again pervading space, and can be. It's like having a very cheap, hopeless, radio with only medium wave, or having a one with short wave, FM, everything, very powerful. So you can pick up signals which an ordinary radio can't. So bodhisattvas can pick up the Sambhogakaya. Dharmakaya, the third aspect of a Buddha's body, is the truth body, or you could say the very invisible aspect of a Buddha's mind, which is only accessible to other Buddhas. So the Buddha has these three bodies. For our benefit, people like me, the Buddha comes as a human being that I can see if he'd been around, or I could touch, receive teachings from him directly. And for the high bodhisattvas, Sambhogakaya. So like that. Anyway, when we become a Buddha, as we will, all of us, one day, this ordinary body we have, and will be having in future lives, will be transformed into that. We'll be able to manifest as a human being, we'll be able to manifest as an animal, for those who need an animal to help them. We'll be able to manifest in many ways. We'll be able to manifest as a body of light. And of course, we'll naturally have the Dharmakaya aspect to our mind, the truth body. So, which is then accessible to other Buddhas. It's like some kind of form of invisible communication, if you like, with other Buddhas. It's just in a very simplistic language. So, that's a great transformation, isn't it? We will, of course, have a human body if we want to help human beings, which will get old and die. But that being, the mind of that body will have no suffering. because it's a Buddha. It's a Buddha body, but just taking a certain form to benefit others. That's all. That being will have no mental suffering. They may get diarrhea, like Lord Buddha had diarrhea sometimes. Anand would help him, get over his diarrhea. But we cannot say that a Buddha's mind is suffering from diarrhea. Why does he have diarrhea? Because he is elected to have a human body so he can communicate with us. With us who would be freaked out even if we could see some other kind of body. Anyway, we don't have the karma to see the light body of a Buddha. Yeah? We need a human being, in our case, to teach us. Okay? 11:50. Wow, we've only got to the third verse. If whoever repays a kind deed is worthy of some praise, then what need to mention the Bodhisattva who does good without its being asked of him? Wow. Reminds one of the Gita here. Just do your work, do your good work. Don't ask for any reward. Just do it. Yeah? We want to be thanked for everything. I do anyway. I do something small, I like to advertise it so that people thank me or say how great I am. So that's not what a Bodhisattva does. Bodhisattva, does good without it being asked. Even helps people who harm him or her. Because in the world, we say people who do good things should be praised, they should be thanked. That's nice, it's good to do that. But the Bodhisattva doesn't need that. It's like the anonymous donor, sometimes you have anonymous donors who give money to, they don't want to be known, their name. Of course, maybe it's, maybe it's black money, they don't want to be caught by the enforcement agencies, who knows. But some people, out of the kindness of their heart and not wanting people to come and thank them, they just give anonymous donations. Or, you might be someone who just, you give to beggars without making sure that other people are looking. You just give, In fact, you try to give to them when no one is looking, so it's just, you don't feel attached to someone thanking you or thinking good of you. You just give. If you want to give, you just give, So like that, the Bodhisattva does good without being asked. And not just good, the Bodhisattva engages in all manner of activities to lead beings to more and more happiness, higher and higher human lives, and then nirvana, enlightenment. Not nirvana, maybe in the Mahayana so much, because nirvana is like you get stuck in nirvana, which is a kind of peace beyond sorrow, where then you are just in a state of peace. So actually Bodhisattva would try to take people more towards the Mahayana path of Buddhahood. Nirvana means working for your own liberation from suffering. And enlightenment is where you are working for the benefit of others continuously. So in the Mahayana Buddhism, we're working towards enlightenment. Nirvana is like something to be avoided because it's like you get stuck in nirvana, which is very nice, I guess, but then you're not benefiting anyone else in nirvana. You've only benefited yourself.